قبل ما ناخدكم بقى في تفاصيل أكتر عن ورشة العمل بتاعت النهاردة، إحنا محتاجين نفهم مين هنا موجود، مين اللي منظم ورشة العمل، ليه اسمها Digital Transformation Collaborative أو التحول الرقمي التشاركي، ليه كل ده؟ خلينا نعرف من ضيفة عزيزة علينا من اليونسكو. هي اليونسكو طبعا هي المسؤولة عن تنظيم هذه الورش، وهي اللي عاملة لها أطر ومعايير معينة، هي اللي بتخلي ورشة العمل تمشي يمكن بنظام معين. خلينا نرحب بجولييت نورمان سميث، أخصائية سياسات تعليمية باليونسكو. Hello, Julie.
Hello, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming and being with us today in Group الماميز show. We need to understand what is this workshop is all about. What does it mean, Digital Transformation Collaborative?
Absolutely. It's a great question because it is the title of today's workshop and the reason why all of these partners are here in Cairo. The story for the Digital Transformation Collaborative really started just over a year ago. The Transforming Education Summit in 2022 happened in New York in September. And it was a big meeting of the education minds of the world from really all countries to come together and say, look, there are many problems and challenges facing the education sector today, and we need to work together to solve them. And digital learning was a track of that education summit. And so from that specific track in the education summit, the idea was born for the Digital Transformation Collaborative, which is basically this acknowledgement that partnership is at the core of making progress in digital transformation at the system level in the education sector. So UNESCO launched in 2020 during COVID school closures, a coalition of now over 200 partners who came together to support continuity of learning throughout school closures. A subgroup of those partners have kept working on that digital key, that digital transformation element beyond the pandemic. That's the Digital Transformation Collaborative.
Yes.
And the idea is that
those countries was Egypt.
So partners first were working together on this project. We hadn't talked to the countries yet.
Okay.
So basically, digital transformation is relevant everywhere. In every context in the world, it's relevant. But we know that countries are at different sort of stages of maturity and readiness for digital transformation and the use of digital technology in their education systems. And so the purpose of this group to gather together was to say, what are the sort of key areas that are necessary to make a whole system of education integrate digital technology ethically, sustainably, with inclusion at the forefront? And in order to do that, we had to make a framework. We had to make a sort of conceptual understanding of what are we talking about when we're talking about digital transformation.
Yes, exactly. So what is it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's called the 5 C's.
And we've heard this today a lot.
Exactly.
And we've seen them, but I want you to maybe emphasize more on.
Yeah, and where it came from, really. So I said this morning, but the Digital Transformation Collaborative is made up of a number of different types of partners. We have private sector partners in there. We have international organizations like UNICEF, UNESCO in there. But then there's also NGOs, there's also funds and foundations. And so all of those types of partners might have a different blueprint or a different way of thinking about what digital transformation is. So we all got around a table, a virtual table, let's say, and for weeks sort of ironed out these specific elements that are necessary for a digital transformation plan.
Okay,
and there are 5. Yeah, 5 C's plus data.
Okay,
so
yes.
6 dimensions, 5 C's. We start with coordination and leadership. That's really about the vision, the governance. That's the sort of centralized thinking and strategic planning for digital technology and education. Then we go to cost and sustainability. You can have a plan, but you need to be able to budget that plan.
Yes.
That's often really hard for every type of country, even if it's a wealthy country. These transformation processes are really expensive.
Yes.
And so to have a sustainable budget is an issue and one that deserves its own sort of focus area of attention. How do we financially engineer the various models and funding mechanisms that exist and apply it to sustainable use of digital technology in education? Then we go around to connectivity and infrastructure, which is sort of the foundation, let's say, or the backbone of any digital transformation strategy. You need high-speed, high-quality Wi-Fi. You need electricity. Yes. You need the hardware and the software, the devices. You need the learning spaces that support those devices.
Yes.
Then moving around, we go to capacity and culture, which I think is one of the ones I'm most interested in. I used to be a teacher, and so I know how important it is to be able to feel empowered to use your technology and not have it overpower you and tell you what to do as a teacher. So capacity and culture is all about supporting the digital competencies and skills of not only teachers, but students and school leaders and the wider community and policymakers themselves.
Yeah.
And then the final component is content and curriculum. So that's everything that you would think of when you think of digital platforms. So high quality, interactive, engaging, multilingual content available at any time, anywhere is our sort of criteria for content.
During today's workshop, I've heard that phrase also being said, is that Egypt is the first pilot.
Yes.
How is that?
Yes. So there was a long multi-step process that the DTC partners created. It's a 5-step process that essentially had different levels of criteria that we kind of put a number of different countries through.
Okay.
And Egypt came out at the end of that funnel of criteria as one of the top 3 countries that would be a potentially successful DTC partner. And Egypt has absolutely shown that they want to engage and that they believe in this idea of collaboration being at the core of digital transformation. And so it's been so exciting to see this first pilot excel like this and really come to life.
Yes, sure. During the workshop, you were one in a group that are answering this huge questionnaire of 60 questions.
Yes.
And now I know why there's 60 questions, because we have 5 C's and then the data.
Yes, exactly.
Each one of these have 10 questions that are being asked upon. What did you find out between your colleagues in the group?
Absolutely. So I was in the cost and sustainability C, supporting another UNESCO colleague, my chief of section, Guang Chol-chan, who's also been moderating today's run of show. We found that I think data is an issue just because when you're talking about something like costing and budgeting, it's important to have the precise statistical figures of what is allotted where. And there was disagreement at the table. So I think that's one area that hopefully through DTC conversations, we can shed some light on what funding is actually available and for what and at what time span. So that was a really interesting area. Another was actually that in the sort of financial plans, perhaps not much attention yet has been directed in terms of investments into capacity building. And so as I was just saying, digital transformation is all about the people. So that's an area that perhaps when we're talking about what needs to be prioritized later, that's maybe something that will come out of the conversation. We'll see. But obviously we all kind of agree that digital skills are important today.
Yes.
So perhaps that will come across to all of the groups as an area of investment.
Yes, hopefully. You live in Paris, but you're an American and Finnish at the same time.
Yes.
And we're always, all the time, we're talking in group of mommies that Finland is one of the best education systems in the world. And now you're here in Egypt and you have your input in the education system. How do you evaluate the education system in Egypt? How far are we going?
I think so I studied comparative and international education. That was my sort of background research-wise. And it's always very difficult to compare contexts. I will say one of my favorite quotes by Joseph Sadler, who's a sort of founder of the idea of comparative education. And he said, you can't wander into another man's garden, pick a leaf off of one tree and a petal off of one flower, and go back to your garden, plant them, and expect them to grow. So I think I always try to urge caution around
this is so well stated.
Yeah, it's a lovely quote.
Yes.
But I think it's very illustrative of the danger of saying, look what Finland does, Egypt should do it too, because Finland is a country of about 5 million people.
Yes.
And it's an incredibly different context, socially, politically, than we have in Egypt. So I think one of the benefits of having this workshop and having it here and having so many partners that are global representatives come here on the ground is to talk to the local partners and to see what actually could be helpful and relevant here, because it might not be what we've learned from Finland.
Yes.
But I think that we've seen today amazing presentations of the vision that the Ministry of Education and Technical Education has for digital transformation in education. And so that's really promising. And we're excited to see sort of how this vision can transpire and be realized.
Yes, all the presentations were very good. We liked your presentation too.
Thank you.
And I won't keep you long because I know you have a lot of things to do. You were over here and there, everywhere. We were trying to pick her and get her. She was eating the koshari for the first time of her life. I hope you liked it.
It was delicious. It was delicious. A combination of rice, macaroni, lentils. I was like, I have to try.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So you have the stamp now. You're Egyptian. You can do it.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to have you on our show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor.
شوف الحلقة كاملة من خلال تطبيق مدرستنا بلس. مدرستنا مستقبل يبدأ الآن.